Okay, my name is Pat Trainer with Dakota Medical Foundation. I'd like to welcome everyone here today. What I'd like to do before I talk about this event is really what brings us together is the devastation caused by addiction and the misuse of drugs, and it's a terrible issue. I'd like to start with a moment of silence of those that we've lost in the struggle of addiction. So if we could just have a moment of silence for those friends, and I've lost a family member to that fight, and I think we should, all of us know someone, and this is a very important effort on our community's part, how we work together to solve problems. So let's start with a moment of silence. All those that we've lost, those family members that live in grief, and for those struggling with it currently, with the addiction problems that we have. I want to thank you, and I think that sets the frame for why we're doing what we're doing today. Today is a take-back event organized by our community, and I'm, again, Pat Trainer with Dakota Medical Foundation, and really this is a community problem, and one of the things that I'm the most proud of, and you can see the folks behind me, we live in a fantastic community. The Fargo, Moorhead, West Fargo, Horace, Dilworth, Cass and Clay counties, all working together to address the serious epidemic of opioid abuse and addiction and how it leads to a trail of destruction in its wake. What's sitting in front of me, we've already had several people coming here and dropping off unwanted and unused medications. They're a danger. More people will talk about those. What I want to do is I want to recognize the mayors and their leadership who are here. We have the mayor of West Fargo. We have the mayor of Dilworth here. We have our mayor of Fargo, Tim Mahoney. And I want to tell you a story that last fall, a few of us in the community went to the mayors and said, would you help lead an effort to bring a light to this issue and bring a ray of hope to the building of a community plan. And I can tell you that it was unequivocally, we would love to, we need to, and we will marshal all the resources necessary in the region. That same call was to Fargo-Cass Public Health, to the mayor's staffs, to people from the community. We have people from Assistive Technology. We have people from Sanford here. We have people from Essentia here. And you'll hear from our Dr. John Baird from Fargo-Cass Public Health and from Mayor Mahoney today. But we're blessed because this community's this region has fought several battles. This will be one of our larger battles that we'll ever fight. It's a long-term effort. We have law enforcement here that are here to take these unwanted, unused drugs today to get them out of the potential for harm's way, people getting a hold of drugs that shouldn't be, and the misuse of those drugs. So what I'd like to do is announce that we have something very special to announce, that we have a full-time coordinator that we've hired to lead this effort. With gratitude, we'd like to thank John Vastag for the terrific job he's done, but he and we all recognize that we need a full-time effort for this, because the issue is much greater than we ever imagined in terms of how big the effort needs to be to combat something as big as addiction. So we have Ann Malmberg with us today. She is a person that has extreme background in health and healthcare. She actually was one of the originators of this, and in the task force that went to the mayors when the mayors totally agreed to help us with this in the communities and the call to action. So we put together a committee, of which I wasn't a part of. Fargo-Cass Public Health, the mayors were involved in the hiring selection. Carrie McLeod from Sanford was involved in the selection. Ruth Roman, the head of our Fargo-Cass Public Health, where we are today. Community leaders, and approved by the mayors, approved Ann Malmberg, who is a nurse, has many, many years sitting on boards, understands addiction and the health effects and how to do prevention and how to work with the entire community to see to it that we're as effective as we possibly be to save lives. So before I mention that, we had one, I remember a quote very first meeting was last October, and Mayor Mattern said, look, if we save one human life, it is all worthwhile. And you remember saying it, and we're going to save tons of human lives. And so it's our pleasure to introduce Ann Malmberg, who's a nurse with Essentia, transitioning to this new role as leader of our coalition. So let's welcome her in this role. Ann?
I'm so excited to be here. I have been involved with the Mayor's Blue Ribbon since last year when we first started to talk about this. And the group is not necessarily going to solve the problem alone, but they have all the right we have all the right stakeholders, people at the table to drive the issue. Plus, we really need to connect with what's happening in the workforce already. There's things happening. Essentia and Sanford are doing an opioid reduction project, and there's so much happening at Share House with ensuring we have transitional housing, and I can't even name all the things that are really happening. And so what I'm excited about is this is making a difference, and we're going to continue to make a difference, and we're going to drive this issue in a way that Fargo, Moorhead, Clay, Cass will be safer. And the take back is something that's happening in Cass today. It's been happening in Clay County and more broadly, and it's one of the things that we're doing. We're working on a needle exchange system. Dr. Baird and Fargo Cass have been very involved in that, and Moorhead already has an excellent needle exchange program to reduce hepatitis, to reduce AIDS in the community. And those are just a few glimmerings of all the work that's happening. And so I can't wait to get started, and I'm so excited to be here. And I'm going to turn it over to Mayor Dr. Tim Mahoney.
Sure, I'm glad you guys didn't ask me to golf, because it sure is windy out here. But I just want to express appreciation and gratitude for all the work that's been accomplished by the Mayor's Blue Ribbon Commission. When the mayors got together, we talked about that. We see it touch all our communities. And truly, as Rich says, if we can save one life, it's so worth it to have that happen. And we all get a little bit concerned every time we see the paper, and again, somebody's taken their life. So this is a top priority for all our mayors in our communities to try to help get rid of many of the issues of the opioid addiction that happen. Prescription painkillers are the #1 issue. 80% of the addictions really comes from prescription pain pills. And what oftentimes people say is what happens is grandma and grandpa or ourselves have pain meds in our house in the medicine cabinet. Somebody comes by, asks to use your bathroom. Next thing you do, they found some opioids. Once they start using the opioids, then it becomes highly addictive. As a surgeon, one of the concerns we always have with our patients with narcotics, it can become a very addictive drug. So how much do you give and how much does the patient need? So we all look at this a little bit differently now and sit down with the patients and say, how long do you need it? What are your expectations of pain relief? And how can we get through this having you come out not addicted or not having a high need to use? Forefront of the discussion by all the mayors recently is how else can we do that? And we have 4 strategies that the commission, the Mayor's Blue Ribbon commission has come up with. #1 is a public awareness campaign, just to get the public more involved in understanding how this affects people, how people become addicted, what we can do to help prevent some of this. We have a clearinghouse and navigators that are going to work to make it more easily. So if somebody is addicted and comes in and wants treatment, can we get to them treatment quicker? We're going to have a medical detox so people can detoxify from the drugs that they have taken. And then the second element of that is housing. People need housing. So the Blue Ribbon Panel Commission has asked that we continue to work on this to have a path forward so people can get through this issue a little bit easier. Our police and police force is all doing a good job in the community to try to stem the drugs in the community. But at the same time, when we have addiction, we have to try to work with the addicted people and try to have them have a path forward. So we'll continue to fight this epidemic. And in our take back, we're really surprised. This bucket is already full, and this started at 1 o'clock. And we see people walking up here with drugs, have actually, garbage sacks full of drugs that they need to get rid of. My wife does home health, and I can't tell you how many times she goes into a home and it is stacks of drugs. And what do you need and don't need? So let's get rid of the drugs you don't need and take it back, give it up, and we'll get rid of it and dispose of it so other people don't become addicted. So I think Chad, are you up next? Chad Olson, Mayor of Dilworth, is going to speak. And he just came back from serving us overseas, was it?
I was.
So he just got in last night, not even tired, and he's coming to work for us today.
Thank you very much. They gave me a script, but the key element for me has always been this collaboration. And starting off, being invited and being included in this process has been fantastic for the city of Dilworth, for the city of Moorhead, for Clay County, as we work together. The collaborative effort from the beginning has always been between cities for me. When we first started this back last fall, I said, okay, how does the city of Dilworth, the city of Moorhead, how do we partner up and work together with our North Dakota counterparts to make a seamless system for the people in need? And seeing this and watching the professionals in action, it really broadened my scope, because in all reality, it's not the mayors, right? We had the fantastic help from law enforcement, to the medical professionals, to the treatment professionals, to our service agencies throughout the counties. It's that collaborative effort that really needs to be emphasized for success in this fight against addiction. To me, it doesn't matter. I want to erase the borders and embrace the problem. If it's usage in Dilworth, treatment in Moorhead, and housing in Fargo, I think that process needs to be exemplified and simplified to help fight this process. And I am glad to say that these borders are being erased. This problem is being met. And then it doesn't matter where the individual is from, what the problem is, that our professionals in law enforcement, medical, and treatment, they're working regardless of borders and embracing the patient to pursue a solution to the problem. And to me, that's energizing. It creates optimism. And again, it makes me proud to put my name in the city of Dilworth behind this effort. This effort is going to be ongoing, and it has a goal, and I also believe it has an end. I believe we can win if we continue to fight. I'm optimistic that way. I believe the right people are in the right place, and I'm happy to be a part of it, and thank you for allowing us to be a part of it. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Chief Dave Todd with the Fargo Police Department, and I'd like to thank the mayors for providing leadership on this issue. Sometimes great leadership is about giving vision and then letting the experts carry out that vision, and that's exactly what they've done. I'd also like to thank John Vastag for the leadership that he's provided in our group thus far in getting us a good foot forward on this and getting these programs started, and I'm excited for Ann to jump into her position and guide us on from here. You know, I've seen studies that say that 2 out of the 3 prescription drugs in your medicine cabinet are not being used. And those are the kind of drugs that end up sometimes in the wrong hands, accidentally or illicitly, and then that can lead to addiction issues. So what we have is a take-back program where people can bring their drugs and deposit them here to have them disposed of properly. We ask people not to flush their drugs down the toilet, not to throw them in the garbage. If you throw them in the garbage, sometimes they end up in the wrong hands. If you flush them down the toilet, they end up in our water system. Our filtration systems aren't able to filter that kind of substance out of the water. So bring them here, dispose of them properly, especially on this day where even in the first hour we filled up a bin. But if you can't make it here today, both our police substation here at 13th Avenue and 25th Street and our station downtown are equipped to take your prescription drugs back any day, business hours. We'll accept those drugs and dispose of them properly. This really is a community issue. The law enforcement, the city leaders, community health, we'll do our best, but it takes a community to solve a problem like this. And we're part of a community that when we wrap our arms around something and band together, we can get it done. We can get this done, but it's gonna take the whole community. So bring your unused prescription drugs and drop them off with us and let us dispose of them. Thank you.
Thank you. This has been a huge issue for our community, opioid addiction and addiction in general. There's many ways to treat it, to prevent it, this is one aspect that we would like the whole community to take note of, and that's what happens with their medications. So people should lock up medications that they have, monitor that they're kept safely, and when they're no longer needed, or if they have extra medications, to get rid of them. And this Take Back event is to highlight that, so that people can bring medications into a Take Back site. Each of the local law enforcement agencies have a container where medicines can be dropped off anytime. Fargo Police, West Fargo Police, Moorhead Police, Cass County Sheriff's Office all have these containers, and any day they could be used. Also, a number of our pharmacies have a program, the Yellow Jug Old Drug program, to take back medication. So you can get rid of your medication and make use of these facilities. So I appreciate everyone's attention to this, and it's something that we're going to continue to work on in many aspects. And this has been a huge event to let people know about that. Thank you very much.
So are there any questions? There'll be 3 more of these events that the Fargo-Cass Public Health has planned, and then there are locations across the region. Of course, most drugstores have that take-back programs. John?
Yes.
Any other questions that folks would have? We do have a list. I started with a moment of silence. I'd like to end with gratitude for all the folks working on this issue in our community that aren't able to be here today. I mean, there are a ton. I have a list of tons of folks in our community, professionals, volunteers, families that have been impacted by addiction, and we're grateful for their leadership, and we call upon others to step forward to help us in this effort, like our chief law enforcement officer here challenged the community. It takes the entire community to help us with that. So today's about the Take Back event. We're right here on 13th Avenue in front of the Fargo-Cass Public Health Building here in the southeast side of that lot. And we'll have this in play till what time? 6. Till 6 p.m. tonight. 6:30 p.m. tonight. So questions? And then anyone that here that wants to come up and answer them, because I'm just a master of ceremonies with Dakota Medical. So questions? Any questions? Okay. So thank you all. Thank you all.